Hello and welcome back. Hello and welcome back to Our Life Beginnings and Always. Last time we went on a pretty basic summer road trip. Wasn't that exciting, actually. So it felt like we were doing a lot of these in a row, and I realized, no, we still have a lot to go. We were only like halfway through this. So we're going to pick another moment. 5. Ooh, look at us go. Look at you go. It's siblings time then. So we're saving Boardwalk for last, which is interesting. We just did them slightly out of order. We just did 2, 1. It's the way it goes. So this is going to be long, so it'll definitely be more than one video, and I might have to take a break myself before finishing this up. So, but we're going to get to Derek moments. So it's siblings time. This is a really good one. You stretched your eyes high as you stepped into the spot in your wooden floor where the last rays of sunshine landed. The remaining warmth of the day was still enough to tickle your skin. I don't remember how this goes or what happens in it. I like the scuba mask. I think I've commented on that before. I wonder if this room evolves as we pick our interests. Pretty sleek computer she's got, too. I've probably talked about this room on length before, so let's not waste our time. Let's not waste time. You felt pleasantly full from dinner, and the only thing that was left was your plate was waiting for a knock. Oh yeah, I know what we're doing here. Derek closed your door as he came in behind you. You'd gotten to spend the afternoon together, and you knew his mom would arrive to pick him up any minute. So yeah, we got Derek here, and we're starting right off with the boy. Thanks for having me over, Marina. I feel like he'd call her Rena. You don't have to thank me for that. And when I'm not surprised, and why am I not surprised you tried to take dishwashing duty away from Elizabeth? Derek pressed his palms together, flipping each hand over under in a loop. It could almost be viewed as a mock watching gesture, but he was probably being awkward. I just thought it'd be fair. I didn't help with the cooking. You're so sweet, you're so funny, you're too much. You're welcome to do my dishes, Derek. Shook your head in amusement. You sighed. You're welcome to do my dishes, Derek. Thanks? Oh, Derek, Mr. Manners. But before you could settle it enough to describe this face in Jamaican patois. Before you could settle in enough to even take a seat, a pounding of thuds cracked the laid-back mood. Derek scrunched his limbs totally inward from the shock. You'd been keeping an ear out for the exact sound, but it was completely unnecessary. Tourists halfway across town wouldn't miss that blare. The racket was followed by the door Derek had so carefully closed moments ago, roughly swinging open. Obviously, the person on the other side wasn't Mrs. Suarez. It was your older sister. With a huff and an eye roll, she delivered a brief message as fast as she could spit it out. Why is she such a bitch in this? This section. Like, we really want to be friends with Lizzie, and there's a chance thing coming up. But they just make her so difficult and awful, and it's annoying.
Come on.
Derek's mom is here, and our mom made me come get you about it. Imagine how they talk to her. They have to deal... Okay, we're coming. Why did you knock if you weren't going to give us a chance to answer? We got the message. Do the dishes, Elizabeth. Thanks for telling us. What a great messenger girl. You stared at her wordly. Thanks for telling us. She would still try to be nice to Elizabeth. She gave you a roll of her eyes, but didn't waste a single extra word on you, even though she's kind of being a bench this whole thing. Not as cool as we thought she was when we were kids, though. I'll tell you that. In one motion, she curled her fingers over the edge of the door, twisted around, and yanked the door shut. The books and boxes in your desk shelves shook. Derek's teeth clattered, too. He whispered through the grimace.
Man.
I'm sorry for that. She's so rude. Want to trade Nicholas or Jorge for her? I'll take Nicholas. I said Nicholas. Nicholas or Jorge for her? I'll take both if you want. You go in frustration. Are your eardrums alright? You looked away in embarrassment over your family. I'm sorry for that. No worries, it's not your fault. She gets extra grouchy sometimes. Right now, for example. Maybe it's her time of the month. You ever think of that? Derek's shoulders eased down onto the resting position, but his expression was pinched. He began to whisper while glancing the way your sister went. His voice was hushed, secretive, almost afraid Elizabeth might slap the door open again to find out he was talking about her. Do you think it's about the dishes, or... I don't know. You could only give her a half-hearted answer. You struggled to understand why Elizabeth acted out the way she did a lot of the time. But your mom is waiting. We gotta go so you can get home. So this episode is about Elizabeth, by the way. Kind of. Right. Marina. Derek's mouth opened and closed without saying anything else. He lifted a hand to try gesturing, but dropped that without it going anywhere. It made you raise your eyebrow. Yeah? His bright green eyes squinted hard into narrow slits, but you could still see the way they darted around. His gaze was trained on the ground, scanning across the floorboards, though everything that really mattered was probably inside his actual head.
Well?
I was wondering... He paused again, Derek's hands balled in a tight fist. He let out a breath and finally asked a question. Are you busy tomorrow? He blinked. That was all? No. The simple answer still made Derek flinch. It might not be all.
Really?
Yeah, really, that's what I said. Then... He spread his fingers, arms out, and not quite a shrug. Would you want to come over to my house for the day? The tone of voice and pose he took was casual in the scripted way. He definitely wanted you to feel like it was totally optional and no problem if you turned him down. You couldn't tell if that was the end or just another point in process, but you were going along with the ride. I can probably do that. I'll have to ask my mom's. Derek leaned in closer, slowly opening his eyes wider. Some kind of suspense was growing.
Alright.
Alright. He dipped his head in tiny repetitive nods. The look in his face went distant again, the way it did when he was thinking deeply. Then finally he flung his hands open to complete the shrug and spoke a question he'd been stalling on. Would you want to come over tonight instead and sleep over? We could, camp out in my living room. It'd be fun. Our own little party. Now the nervousness made sense to you. Now you were the one feeling nervous. You were completely stunned. Your confusion was compounded. You almost laughed. It absolutely tickled you. Now the nervousness made sense to you. I know that's pretty out of nowhere. If you can't make it or don't wanna or anything, I'm totally cool with it. I want to. Hopefully moms will let me. Let's do it. Yeah, but why? You nodded happily in agreement. Would your parents be able to manage that? I don't know, maybe. Let's do it.
Awesome.
Come on, we'll ask right now. Yeah, definitely. My mom is waiting for us. The two of you left your bedroom and bounded down the stairs, one after the other. I like the simple design of Mrs. Suarez. What's her name? Shoot, I don't remember what her name is. Shoot. Irene. It came to me. Your warm greeting came as you hit the landing point in the first floor.
Hello.
Derek, Marina. Your two moms and Derek's one mom were gathered in the entryway of the living room. Derek reached out a hand towards her and waved it. Derek's the person we know with a normal family situation. Hey, Mom. Hey, welcome to our house, even though you've been here for a few minutes already. After smiling at him and at you, Derek's mom turned her head over his shoulder to speak to your parents. Thank you again for taking care of him. Mom? Derek uncharacteristically broke polite decorum by interrupting his mom. It got her attention and she let him speak. I had something I wanted to ask you and Mr. and Mrs. and Mrs. Foster. It'd be so weird saying Mrs. and Mrs. Foster. Oh? What is it, sweetie? He had the attention and encouragement of all three mothers. On this stage, Derek didn't beat around the bush the way he did before.
Please?
I was wondering if Marina could come with us and spend the night at my house, please? Aw, them frowny faces. This is the first time we sleep over with a boy! We probably slept over with our cousin Lee before, but... And no, we've never been to Cove's house. Cove's been here, but I don't think they knew that. So technically not our sleep, but first time going to a boy's house to sleep in the night. He knew your mom's well enough to foresee potential concern reactions, and so Derek sped through his extra terms to make sure they heard that part before answering. We'd set up in the living room instead of my room, and my parents and brothers would still be around. People could keep an eye on us. As expected, Mom and Ma were instantly thrilled. They were shocked by the possibility, and while he was successful in avoiding the first obvious pitfall, your mom still had a completely different apprehension to fret about.
I don't know.
That's pretty last minute. You're about to walk out the door. We couldn't have Marina impose. Derek's mom stayed strangely silent. She looks really confident, man. He popped the question. She fixed to stare at her son, crossed her arms against her chest, and shook her head at him. The shake didn't mean no. It had another meaning that maybe only as far as could get. Still, she smiled.
Yes.
We can find a place for Marina tonight if there's no family conflict with that, and she would like to come over, of course. Both your moms turned their faces right towards one another in instinct. They were astounded that Derek's mom didn't mind. Huh? Mom scratched her head over it. Derek had made a huge request with no advance warning, and Mrs. Suarez had 3 children to care for already. It seemed unreasonable to her. For your ma, however, a light began to sparkle in her eyes, and while she noticed you looking, she held your gaze. Marina, do you want to go? Yeah, so much! Ma wrapped both her arms around one of her wife's.
In that case?
I see. I think it would be alright, just this time. Really? Your mom sputtered. She hadn't gotten to the page of the script. Mom got an encouraging pat on top of her head for her troubles. She remained absolutely perplexed, mouth open, eyes wide. Mom could only process enough to realize she'd become the odd mom out. She probably didn't know exactly what she was doing, but Mom turned to look at you. Pack it up, Marina. You wouldn't want to keep them waiting. You snapped your gaze to Derek. He'd done the same. The two of you shared a matching look of astoundment. I like Irene. She's just Mom, right? She knows how to deal with all her boys. It was almost identical to the gesture your moms had made when Mrs. Suarez first accepted Derek's proposition.
Thank you.
Mr. and Mrs. Foster, Mrs. and Mrs. Foster. There's no Mr. here. There's no dudes. Just Mrs. and Mrs. Foster. Thanks, Moms. Yes! How about thank you, thank you, thank you? The deal was finalized with a crisp clap from Mrs. Suarez. Pamela is right. You should get what you'll need for the night. You're coming along for the ride. I'll help. Neither of you gave them time to change their minds. You ran back to your room and began to pack in a whirlwind. As you shoved clothes into a backpack, Derek hovered in the center of the room. He fidgeted with his energy that was going unused. I like that you use a backpack instead of... It makes me happy. Can you get me a spare toothbrush? There's extra for traveling in the hall closet.
I'm on it.
He was gone in a flash. You took only the very basics. You made sure to get the basics and something you personally couldn't go without. You took only the very basics. I don't think she has something she personally can, yeah. You made a note in your head to ask your mom to tell Cove where you'd be, since there wasn't time to explain it in person. Why does it matter to Cove? Oh no! I lost my sound for a second there. Why would it matter to Cove? Cove isn't our boyfriend. But then you remembered a conversation you'd had with him that morning. He had plans the next day. I wouldn't be around for a lot of it anyway. Derek's invite had come out at a convenient time. I guess we just still hang out with Cove a lot. I guess. Derek returned in a sprint, a toothbrush held over his head in triumph. With a grin, you threw it into the overnight bag. This was enough to get you by for a short trip. You zipped it up, hooked it around your shoulder, and went out the door. You checked out the final requirements to leave. For the second time in a matter of minutes, you rushed down your stairs, in a flurry of steps with Derek close enough that you almost stumbled into him. At the bottom, you came to stand in front of the mom group. We're ready.
Good night.
Perfect. Good luck, kiddos. Have a great time. Gently, rhythmically, Ma ran her hand over your hair. All her precious hopes for your safety and happiness ebbed from her fingertips into you.
Take care.
Good night, Marina. Take care. Night. See you. Mrs. Suarez and Derek gave their own goodbyes, and afterwards they returned to the minivan that had brought them here. Hey, have we seen the Suarez minivan yet? Because they have a minivan. That almost looks pink in this light, but it's the red clips. This is little Nicholas's child seat here. Nicholas. I love that they have that. I love that they even took to the point of having a frickin' making the child seat for Nicholas. So does Jorge ride in the very back then? He probably does, right? Or Derek. I guess Derek would probably volunteer to do that. And it's weird that we're looking at it from this side. Usually you're looking at the driver's side. Mrs. Suarez and Derek gave their own goodbyes, and then afterward they returned to the minivan that had brought them here. And then, almost unbelievably, you slid into the vehicle with them to go on the impromptu sleepover. The chill of the squeaky leather against your hands, the persistent smell of animal cracker crumbs kept you grounded in reality. Yeah. To be fair, though, this is amazingly clean. This does not look like a lived... I wonder if Our Life 2 is gonna have, like, actual, like, lived-in-ness. Like, all the houses, all the scenes, everything is so clean, it doesn't look like somebody lives there. In some cases that makes sense, but in other cases it does not. Too sterile, if you ask me. Nicholas would have trashed this. Derek bounced against the seat back like a little kid in the roller coaster, and Chuck clicked his belt into place for the ride back to his condo. You strapped in too. You never could have imagined the evening taking you down this literal and metaphorical road, but you were eager to find out what happened next. The sun continued to sink as Derek's mom drove down the highway. When you arrived at your destination, so had night. It's the Suarez house. We're having a sleepover at the Suarez house. The condo complex was nicely lit and well maintained. The three of you easily made your way up to Derek's house and went right in. Slipping her set of jangling keys onto a nearby wall hook, Mrs. Suarez called out into the hall from the empty living room. We're home. I forgot that this is how this starts. You do this sleepover. You braced your ears for the second sibling caused commotion in the evening that you knew would come.
Derek's back!
Any excuse to use Derek's back! Nicholas tore out of his bedroom and thundered across. Nicholas tore out of his bedroom and thundered across the floor until he had his arms gripped around his big brother's legs. Even with the force, all the force 6-year-old Nicholas could muster, it was hardly a bump against Derek. He absorbed the impact calmly, giving his little sibling a pat in the head for his troubles. Yep, siblings. Derek's got him, we got him. Yeah, we're back. The two remaining boys of the family came from the same room at a snail's pace in comparison to the first. But soon enough, Mr. Suarez and Jorge were with you two.
Welcome back.
Jorge rubbed a growing sleepiness from one eye. He took in the scene with undisguised confusion.
Why?
Why is Marina here? Hi, I've come to visit. I'm sleeping over. He looked down and waited for someone to explain. What do you mean? I live here, you teased. No, you don't. Mom? She answered matter-of-factly. Marina is staying over with us tonight. So I like that this is the whole Suarez family we've got here. Let's just bask in the Suarez family. Jorge clamped his mouth shut. He might have had something to say about the spur-of-the-moment plans, but was obedient enough not to argue with his mother. He's got kind of the similar thing to Cove about plans and stuff, right? Mr. Suarez, however, had a childlike glee in his expression.
Oh.
Very good. Derek cut into his daddy's excitement with a reply a little too soon. He had completely normal words to say, but had been put on fast forward. So I'm guessing that Gregorio probably wants to play some more Mario Kart with us. It's that rematch. Yeah, it's great. Thanks, Dad. Anyway, we're gonna camp in the living room. Can we borrow the tent? Derek's hands are balled into fists and held up near his collarbone, overzealously, kind of protectively. Why would you pitch a tent in the living room? Build a fucking blanket for it. You got a couch? You got cushions? Why would you pitch a tent? His father looked down at him with a familiar, serene expression. He knew exactly where he'd seen it before, and Mr. Suarez placed his hand on top of Derek's head. He took care of Derek the same way Derek cared for Nicholas. Of course. The gesture worked the exact same charm on Derek. His shoulders relaxed, his expression softened slyly, the pounding nerves that had been building faded. Imagine what it would have been like for this kid when he was the only child for the number of years that was. It was a good number of years before they had Jorge from him, right? Jorge's like, they're probably all about like 3 or 4 years apart at least. Something like that. Camping! Nicholas shouted without warning. The entire exchange had no interest for the youngest one until that moment. That's right, Nico. Derek reached down and carefully placed his hands on Nicholas's shoulders to touch him off. Nicholas went willingly, giddily, repeating the same word, this time amazed confirmation rather than as a question. Camping! With a thumbs up, Derek stood tall. The plan was in motion. Marina, you can put your bag down and sit if you want to. I'll go grab some other stuff. When moving past you, Derek took a second to lean in and whisper a lighthearted reassurance.
It's okay.
The little bros will go to bed before we do. Mama's gonna be watching them tomorrow. You're not here to babysit the whole time again. See, I like that it's the again. Okay, cool. And they gotta reassure the player that, right, too, so you know it's not just another moment about babysitting Nicholas. The whole group broke off into 3 sets. Derek ran to his room with Nicholas right in his heels, while Mr. and Mrs. Suarez left the space to kids, returning to their own bedroom. You and Jorge stayed where you were. Jorge shuffled over to the kitchen counter to sit in the bar stool. He wasn't helping, but he wasn't getting in the way. Jorge was more sensitive than he let on, and you made sure to smile reassuringly over at him so he knew he was wanted there. His lips quirked up a little, just a little in response. Then you took your own seat in the couch and got to unpacking. You were kept busy sorting through it until Derek returned with the goods. 2 pillows were under each of his arms. He had a few brightly patterned blankets draped over his shoulders, and the rope loop of a big nylon pack was hooked around one wrist. Nicholas has supported the effort by carrying one long pillow. He clutched it tight to his chest as best he could, considering the pillow was about as long as his whole torso. Derek piled up the supplies on the ground opposite side of the couch from where you were. Nicholas opened his arms wide to let his pillow drop to the floor in a soft pop. I made Derek chuckle proudly.
Okay.
I'm gonna put together the tent. Nicholas, Jorge, do you want to help?
I'll help.
I'm
gonna
gonna...
put together the tent.
Let's just...
Okay. I'll help. I'm gonna put together the tent.
That doesn't sound like a 6-year-old. Nicholas bounced around Derek in absolute eagerness. In the distance, Jorge pushed away from the counter. I wonder if they gave them the list of lines and just said you can voice whichever ones you want. If that's how this works, and that's why we got some lines that are just fully voiced, and others that aren't.
Yeah.
His expression was flat and wide-eyed, but there was a hopeful rise in his voice as he got up from the bar stool. I like Jorge a lot. I'm here too, remember? I'm helping. Let's do it! Okay, good. I hope we get good job, team! The declaration made you, Derek, Nicholas, Jorge get to work making heads and tails of the tent. Derek yanked open the cinched-in top of the pack as he walked to the furthest spot in the living room. Everyone followed his lead. So I don't know about you, but I wouldn't open my tent inside the house. It's full of sand and dirt from camping. I don't know, man. Unless you clean it off really good, I guess. But even so... He pushed the semicircle basket chair up against the edge of the counter wall so the tent could go there instead. Derek dumped the contents of the bag into the cream rug. He leaned over on one foot, kicking the other in the air to reach out and grab the instructions that fell out with the rest of the materials. Who needs instructions? I guess if you're 13 and you've never done it before. He scanned over the steps briefly, but it was only a refresher. Derek was able to get right into the process. I don't know that I ever used instructions for a tent. I had to learn how to do this in Boy Scouts, and I just did it. Nicholas was assigned pole control. That was heavy duty. He kept watch over the pile, not letting any roll away, and would pass the tent legs over when they were needed. I should just read this like Michael Rosen. Stretching out the fabric took you the rest of you. You, Jorge, and Derek each grabbed a side and tugged. I don't sound like him. Never mind. Derek had to squeeze himself against the tall potted plant in the corner. He snickered at the way the leaves curled around his face. He went whoosh all around his face. Despite that, you get the tent laid out across the ground. The first time Nicholas got to pass a pole, it slapped against the wall in the tiny space you were working in. Slap! Jorge covered his ears and ducked. Derek snatched the end of the air before it could do more damage. The little boy promised to be more careful. He got to keep his job and took it seriously. Piece by piece, the project slowly took shape until it was finally complete. The small, light grey tent sat in its full form nestled into the nook of the living room.
Good job, team.
I'm done. He did it! We got a good job, team! As if he yelled into a cave, an echo of his words followed after. Good job, team! Nicholas threw his hands in the air with joy. Jorge simply smiled, satisfied. Thanks for the help, everyone. It's a beauty. He applauded the success. I'm impressed we didn't break it. Good job. This is a Holly thing to say. Ain't it a beaut? I'm impressed we didn't break it. Derek stuck his fist to his hips and gave the team an encouraging grin. Now we can actually do this indoor camping part of this living room camp out. Derek strolled up to the cabin in the corner. He pulled open the translucent doors to fiddle around with something inside. A poppy tune blared out. He turned on a CD player. I'ma keep on dancing at the Pink Pony Club. I'ma keep on dancing at the Pink Pony Club. Okay. Nicholas leapt onto the couch and swung his arms into the air to dance. Jorge swayed his shoulders to the bubblegum notes. The big brother wasn't done yet. He made a beeline for the kitchen cupboard next. This time, the mood setter Derek retrieved was a pillow-sized bag of puffy marshmallows. Mashimaru, catch! That was the only warning before he sent the marshmallows sailing across the room in a perfect arc. Jorge managed to snatch it from the air without a problem. Future pro football star there. The top of the bag was twisted around and sealed with a blue clip. The open side was stretched from the process of twisting and untwisting repeatedly. It had been well appreciated so far. Marshmallows don't keep that long though, so they must have actually had this for just a little while. Jorge undid the clip and set it aside on the coffee table. His tongue pressed against the corner of his lips as he dug his hand deep into the bag for just the right one. Nicholas tilted over from the cushion into the bag to fill his tiny fist with 2 marshmallows. He crushed them between his fingers, the fluffy confection squeezing through the cracks. It really was a party. Derek put his hand on the cupboard handle and showed you over the music. Do you like marshmallows? So, they're not bad, yeah. You plucked one out of the bag and ate it as your answer. No, but thank you. You shook your head apologetically for your hand as your answer. So, I am gonna say this right now out loud. I don't like marshmallows. I like to cook them over a fire and eat them that way, especially as a like s'more. I think that's fantastic. I don't like them in cereal, and I especially don't like them raw. Why would you ever eat these things? Maybe when I was like 6 years old, I liked them raw, but they're good melted, but not much else. Also, marshmallows are gelatin, so if you were a vegan, you would need them. But Marina Foster plucked one out of the bag and ate it as her answer. The cupboard door swung closed and nothing was there to obstruct your view of the bright grin on his face anymore. He finally joined the rest of base camp, which was the couch at the moment. Jorge, get me one of those too. Without even one warning, Jorge simply flicked a marshmallow at his brother. As same as before, Derek grabbed it in midair. He bit one piece off the top edge, chewing thoughtfully.
Okay.
There's no TV while camping, so having a sleepover movie wouldn't make sense. A lot of people have those frickin' projectors and project movies onto stuff on like the side of their RV. There's definitely TV while camping. With the swallow of a marshmallow and a snap of his fingers, Derek empathetically glared at a grand idea. I hope you get to go camping in our life too. That would be amazing. I bet you do, because I think Tamarack is outdoorsy. I think I've heard that. Because you live in more of a woodsy area too. I would love to go camping here, but you don't really get to do that. We'll play an ad-lib game. I'll make up a story, and the three of you can fill in some blanks to make it complete. Jorge rolled his shoulder passively. He had finished his first treat and was poking around for another perfect selection. This kid is so smart. Okay. Nicolas smiled a big wide smile, but it wasn't just pearly teeth. His entire mouth was full of marshmallow mush. He took that reaction as a yes. The little ones were on board. Yeah, this is gonna be good. Alright, let me think. Doesn't Derek have a line, this is gonna be good, too? We need a noun. A thing you can drive, or ride, or shape... ride on. We need a noun. A noun, a thing you can drive or ride on. A shape, a color, a food, and a drink. Nicolas gulped painfully, forcing down too much marshmallow goop all at once, but he wouldn't let anyone beat him to the punch. A truck! A truck! Does Nicolas like trucks, I wonder? Nicolas's eyes were wide. He was practically vibrating from the sugar high, mixed with the chance to add a truck to the story. Derek rubbed his back placatingly. That's the ride, Jorge? The middle child plucked the frayed plastic edge of a marshmallow bag. It might have taken him longer to come up with something than the youngest, but he did contribute an idea. Blue. Cool, we got a color. Marina? The noun is, for the food, it's, the drink could be, I'll pick the shape, it's, don't worry about me, let them choose. You quietly shook your hand to signal Derek to move past you. Oh, man. Let's do a little bit here. The drink could be... Oh. This is type in anything you want time. Family friendly though, because we've got kids here. Keep those dirty minds where they belong. So, the shape could be a non-Euclidean rhombus or something stupid like that. Let's do the. I kind of want to do the noun, but that's hard. So. Marina Foster and her taquitos. Gotcha. He shifted his focus back to the boys. Derek's expression and the entire way he carried himself was different when speaking to them. It reminded you of a teacher interacting with his students. Jorge, Nicolas, give me some more words.
Oh.
Hexagon. Hexagon is probably what I would have chosen, honestly. So good boy. I also like octagon a lot.
Nice.
Oh, good one. That's a shape. Apple juice! Perfect, there's a drink. Derek continued to warmly watch over his little siblings, but the words he spoke were for you. Marina, you missed the last one. A noun. Oh, we get the noun after all. Yeah, the noun should be. We get the noun after all. Oh, man. Wow. Classic Marina Foster, no. I want to say horse. Marina Foster, though. Coral reef. His expression somehow softened even more. Awesome. Derek pulled his chest back and folded his arms. He smirked, brows angled, and eyes squinted.
Alright.
I can now tell you the story of Baby Castle. Oh, that's right, this is Baby Castle. Baby Castle, ladies and gentlemen. Nicolas stamped his feet rapidly into the couch. What is with this expression? Why does Jorge always get, like, so freaked out? He was absolutely squealing from the premise alone.
What?
Baby Castle? Yeah, that's right. In a big open field, there was Stone Fortress. And that was Baby Castle. Everyone who lived there was a little baby, but they didn't need any adults. Their greatest treasure was a giant golden coral reef at the center of the courtyard. They were always vigilant to protect it from the greedy hands of grown-ups. They ever protect the giant coral reef? Yeah. Jorge snorted. His mouth and cheeks began to pull upwards. Then one day someone came to the gates of the castle in a truck. It was a man, not a baby or even a kid. He had a hexagon-shaped head and a fancy top hat. He was knocking on the door, demanding to be let in. They were just babies and they needed supervision. It was a blue alert, and the guards were rushing to their stations. The first thing in the line of defense was their taquitos catapult. It was loaded up and then fired. Bullseye, the taquitos knocked the top head off his head, but the hexagon-faced man wasn't deterred. He used his giant grown-up legs to climb over the wall. There was panic in the castle. He had to be after their golden coral reef. Derek shifted his weight from foot to foot with precision. His hand had gone up in front of him with his palms facing forward. He looked like a goalie of a soccer game. So imagine these babies just built like a little baby fence, and that's their castle, and the guy can just walk over it.
But
The babies weren't beaten yet. The squirt gun battalion lined up as soon as the adult stepped on the other foot on the other side. He spelled it with apple juice. He stumbled back, and the gatekeepers opened the door while he was blinded. He got pushed right out back onto his truck. The guards gave one more shove, and the man with his truck, without his hat, slid down the hill and far away. The castle was saved. The babies in their coral reef were still free. Hooray! The end! A matching pair of cheers filled the air. Nicolas and Jorge were thrilled by the yarn Derek had spun for them. He applied the grand conclusion in the tale of Baby Castle, too. It was a pretty dumb story, but very cute how Derek could entertain his brothers. He snickered in your hand just as amused as Jorge and Nicholas. It honestly impressed you how well Derek could improvise. The whole thing seemed really juvenile. Imagine being that person who thinks it's really juvenile. Marina Foster is all about this kind of story. Bravo! The living room campsite blowout kept rolling from there. Derek turned... It's a birthday blowout. Blow out your ass! Derek turned the music up louder, making sure to skip any track that didn't fit the mood. Jorge and Nicolas swung across the floor to dance. They threw marshmallows in the air and tried catching them with their mouths, and when that got old, they tried to see who could fit the most in their mouth at any one time. This is a big bag of marshmallows, man. They've already eaten some of it, and they still have enough to do this. I hate this crap. This is what you did as you were a kid, though. You always put... I did this all the time. Try to put marshmallows in your mouth. We did this funny thing at Bible camp, where the counselors did this, where they tried to put as many marshmallows in, and you still had to say a certain phrase or whatever, and it was like a competition between the teams. I think I was on it. I might have did this once. Yeah. You still had to talk with all those marshmallows in your mouth, and try to have the most. Derek grooved to the beat and tapped his toes around as he collected the treats they missed, picked up the pillows they knocked on the floor, and patted the backs when they stuffed faces made them cough. But he wasn't only Mr. Responsible. Derek took his own shot at the marshmallow mouthful competition. GB Patch Lady, the marshmallow mouthful competition, and blew his little brothers out of the water. You danced along with the boys. You were a new challenger in the marshmallow game. You threw your own marshmallows in the air. Took a turn telling your own ad-lib story. Ooh! Storyteller Marina. It was a heart-wrenching tale of love, loss, revenge, and plotted plans, thanks to Jorge's suggestion. There wasn't a dry eye in the house when in the end your hero wilted. Every leaf fell. As the night continued, Derek moved on from the party hotspot to chill out inside the tent. He was on his side, propped up by his elbow. She would stuff the marshmallows in her mouth too, but give it a chance to tell a story, Marina would love that. It took a few minutes for Nicholas to notice his brother's disappearance from sight lines. He knew the moment it happened. He'd been bounding from cushion to cushion on the couch, but came to a firm stop, sticking his feet deep in place. A helpless pout flickered on Nicholas's face before it almost instantly curved into a sly grin. Nicholas knew where he could find his favorite person. He leapt from the arm of the couch to land at the entrance of the tent. From there he sprung forward like a shot straight into Derek, shoving him over onto his back with an oof. Derek didn't get up. He flopped his arms out and laid motionless. 3, 2, 1. Derek was down for the count. 3, 2, 1. The following contest is scheduled for one fall. In the blue corner, Nicholas was the winner. We have your winner, Nicholas Suarez! Claiming his victory, Nicholas curled up on Derek's flattened chest. He tuckered himself out. He stretched out in the blanket inside the tent. He sat balled up on the blanket inside the tent. He laid down on the blanket inside the tent. He sat stretched out on the floor near the tent. Anyway. She stretched out in the blanket inside the tent. Jorge wandered over to sit down cross-legged. He had one shoulder in the tent and the rest of him was out. Derek's eyes drooped closed and he heaved a satisfied sigh.
Sheesh.
I'm too old to keep up with you bros. You can party way harder than me. Just wait till you're 20. You could still muster enough energy to move a hand over his brother's fluffy marshmallow-speckled hair. The little boy snuggled his cheek into Derek's jersey even more. Still cross-legged, Jorge took hold of his ankles and rocked himself gently back and forward. The childlike position conflicted how contemplative his next words were.
I wonder what things will be like when we really are older.
Wow. Thank you for that fully voiced line, Jorge. I am excited to see what things will be like when you really are older, too. The brother with the most days behind him smiled softly while his eyes remained shut. That's easy. 10 years from now, I'm going to be a famous athlete. Nicholas will obviously be the cheer captain in all my games. Derek earned a squealing giggle from Nicholas. He even kicked a leg out like a puppy who got a tummy scratch. I could see Nicholas being a cheerleader. Jorge, you'll be my career manager. Jorge stopped his movement, sitting a little taller, a smile pulled out on the edge of his mouth. Yeah, I mean, I could see him doing that.
Obviously.
Marina will be there too. I could see Jorge being following sports and being the responsible one who does all the books and stuff, right? That perks your own interest. Yeah, I'll be in the same sports team, whatever it is. I'll be Derek's trophy wife. I would? What would I be doing? Oh yeah, I'll be on the competing team, whatever it is. I'll take care of merchandise. He waited for him to keep going. Huh. I'll be on the competing team, whatever it is. He snickered along with your contribution to the master plan. Exactly. And his voice drifted off quietly. And the four of us would all be neighbors. He thought that sounded wonderful. He wanted to live next to you. He wanted you to be part of his future. See, this is kind of the little bit romantic stuff here. But we also gotta live next door to Cove, because Cove's our bestie. Derek, Jorge, and Nicholas. You glanced at each of their faces and felt glad you got to be there. You went to different schools, lived in different towns, had different families, but sometimes you were able to share your worlds with each other. And maybe someday Derek's story would come true, and you'd even be closer. But that time wasn't now, and all too soon the Suarez parents reappeared to take their younger children off to bed in their own room. Despite nearly being asleep already, Nicholas grasped Derek's shirt when his dad reached to pick him up. Derek kept one hand on Nicholas's head and pressed the other against the floor, slowly shifting into a sitting position. Nicholas's vice-like grip made it easy to do without either of them falling over. When he was upright, Derek collected his little brother in his arms fully and shuffled out of the tent. This is pretty cool, huh, Nico? Usually I'm all the way in my room, but tomorrow all you have to do is open the door and look down the hall and I'll be there. Derek whispered soothingly on the path back to the back bedroom, putting bed not just the delicate bundle he carried, but also likely resistance to the boy would have put off. Jorge trailed behind his other brothers. He didn't need any extra help, but Derek stood in place. He didn't move until the middle one could come up by his side. Altogether, the three Suarez sons went through the door. He watched in the living room quietly. Maybe a minute or two passed before Derek switched off with his parents. He came out empty-handed and they went in. He took wide, tiptoeing steps over to the campsite. His sleepiness from before was wiped away by a second wind of excitement. Derek made it back to the tent and put a hand to his mouth, watching the hall like a hawk for any sign of his family.
It's all good.
We gotta change into our pajamas, but we don't have to go to sleep for real. You got to your feet, his eagerness rubbing off on you. The both of you quietly bustled up the bathroom and living room, finishing all last-minute prep. Derek's parents lingered at the edge of the hallway until both you and Derek were completely set. PJs on, teeth brushed, the works. Good night, Derek and Marina.
Good night.
Sleep well, enjoy the great outdoors of the living room. Night, Mom. Night, Dad. Good night, night. Good night, the big boys bite. You waved them out of the tent. You waved at them out of the tent opening. Night. Mr. Suarez hit the light. The condo light blinked into darkness. There were footsteps, silence, and the click of the door opening and shutting. His parents had returned to their own bedroom, this time to turn in for the rest of the night. This looks nice in the dark like this. First time we're seeing this. With the opening and intermission over, part 2 of the Derek and Marina at home adventure could begin. But it's not going to be part 2. Not yet. Not yet, because part 2 is going to be... I know how long this moment is, and I'm not putting this yet. Okay? Derek went from sitting up perfectly straight, ready for some non-existent interview, to dropping forward onto his stomach. He squirmed around using his elbows, the effort fluttered in the tent blankets making a soft crinkling sound. When he positioned himself facing you, Derek rested his head against the top of his fist. One fist. He grinned keenly. So I camped out in the living room before, but I've never pitched a tent in the living room. I built, like, blanket forts, like I said. I love doing that kind of stuff. It just seems like a lot of effort as an adult, because I'd have to put it all away when I'm done. And of course, I've just slept on air mattresses when I haven't guessed before. The rest of his family might have been right across the condo, but this was still the first chance to talk between yourselves since the sleepover started. He'd been waiting for it. Hey, Marina. There's nighttime Derek. Just looks a lot like Cove's outdoor outfit. Which I realized in the last moment, I got a completely different Cove outfit than my friend did. Cove has this really obnoxious pink jacket that he can wear also, which I'm sad I didn't get now. His cheeks lifted high enough to push the bottom of his eyes and whispered with a childlike sense of secret sharing.
So...
I was wondering, if we were being totally, completely serious, what would you want to be doing in the future? Do you have, I don't know, a goal or a dream? This is pretty heavy stuff just to drop on you like this. Yeah, I do. No, not really. You nodded without a word. You shook your head at the question. My dream is exactly what you were saying before. I'm serious about that. I'm tempted to say that, but I'm gonna say yeah, I do. I just want to see. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. I want to learn a lot. I hope I'll be famous. Yeah, I'm glad I picked this one because there's definitely an answer here. I'd like to help people. I want to make a lot of money. Hopefully I'll be able to create things. I want to be very skilled. As an adult, I want to travel. It would be amazing to fall in love. I want to actually feel like I'm a responsible adult. But it's a secret. Alright! Lock in those answers now! Which one of these 10 things will Marina Foster pick? Alright, we're going to start off now. We're going to eliminate... I don't actually want to... I really want to actually feel like I'm a responsible adult because, yeah, why would Marina ever think that? No secrets here. Don't get that money. She doesn't need to be famous or learn a lot. You know what the answer is, right? No love. As an adult, I'd want to travel. Awesome. Wait, just that? You can pick more than one. And I'd like to help people. Does she want to help people? Ooh. I think so. You're so nice. And that sort of thing. Cool, thanks for telling me. Derek contemplatively rolled over on his back. The arm that had held his chin up was now tucked under his head for support there instead. His eyes never broke away from yours just by flipping upside down. I like that you have stuff like this even in these DLC moments, that you can still define your character in ways that you couldn't have defined her before. But now you know Marina's dream of travel, of getting away from Sunset Bird and seeing the world. Sparked by things like her family's little road trip to the Redwood Forest. He could move as freely as he wanted and was taking full advantage of that. When his siblings were around, he had to work with 8 limbs and 2 heads thanks to Nicholas's literal attachment to him. And that got your train of thought fully on track of siblings. You opened your mouth and said, "Wish I had a little sibling? I'm so glad I'm the youngest in my family. I wonder what it'd like to be an only child. I wish my older sibling was as nice as you are. I wish I had a second big sibling. Siblings are complicated." Oh, wow. So here's the siblings thing. We like Lizzie a lot. But Lizzie has become her own person, and she's gotten distant from Marina. And so little kid Marina really loved her sister and wanted to be like her, and now Lizzie has become this person that she can't be around. Doesn't want to spend time with her anymore. And who is kind of mean to her sometimes. So, siblings are complicated. Derek made a valiant attempt to nod along from his lopsided position. Agreed. Did you ever wish you had a big sibling? How does it feel to be the oldest? Would you want more or fewer siblings? You quietly thought about it all. Do you ever wish you had a big sibling? Because she'd be thinking about her big sister now. His gaze trailed away from yours for the first time so he could stare at the tent ceiling. I don't think so. Maybe I've never needed a big sibling to look up to because I already had someone for that. My dad. Oh, that makes sense. The air in the near-complete darkness had felt warm and comfortable, but the atmosphere began to change. It was too subtle to say exactly why, but enough for you to notice. Marina? Derek reversed his position again, getting on his stomach. His arms were crossed over the floor in front of him, and he rested his cheek down against them. Derek's eyes were on the ground, too.
Was it annoying?
Would it be weird to ask if you're having fun? So, like, this is probably the most romantic moment you get with Derek, I think, because you get this time just to talk and stuff. Like, responsibility is all about his brothers. And it's about getting to know Derek a little bit as a person, but there's nothing really that there. I feel, the Boardwalk does have a moment, too, I think, that could be like that if we were dating Derek or had a crush on him or whatever. But anyway. I like that you get to pick a lot of things in this, because a lot of these DLC moments seem to just railroad you and force you in one way or another. Too late, you've already made it weird. No, but it wouldn't be weird, wouldn't it? It wouldn't be weird. Why are you asking? You looked at me incredulously. Why are you asking? Well, he clicked his heels together in a rhythm, soft taps rustling in the blanket, 1, and then 2, then 3, 4 in quick succession, then repeated it again. Derek mumbled into his forearm. I was just really hoping this would be a nice time, man.
Forget it.
It's nothing. But Derek sprung in his palms, bringing his head up to your level and beaming directly at you. Have you watched anything cool recently? Jorge and I have been showing Nicolas a lot of great stuff he couldn't see before because he's too little when they came out. He kicked the ball in a new direction and had too high of a defense for you to maneuver it back. But that was alright. You could talk to Derek about anything. You and Derek continued to bounce from topic to topic. You quickly spoke your thoughts out into the air while hidden away from the rest of the world, near camp. So I had friends over to my house when I was younger, and this is exactly what we did. We'd stay up like late at night, just talking about what shows and things we were into, and quoting movies, and just shows, books, video games, just doing that kind of stuff. And that's what we did. Like, I did a lot of this throughout middle school and high school kind of age. Like, when I was about their age and on. This is what you did. And this is kind of nostalgic to that. We never set up a tent in the living room, though. It went on through the night until before you realized that your eyes were opening to the morning sunlight. I guess we slept on the couch bed. But there was no peace in Derek's household.
Woo!
It's morning! After giving his war cry, Nicolas barreled from his room and catapulted himself into the tent. Derek wrestled with Nicolas in the blankets in a tickle fight. It was a more memorable way to spend the day. For breakfast, there was a cupboard full of different cereals and instant oatmeal packets to choose from, plus fruits, berries, and nuts to top it up if you wanted. Each bowl was prepared to its owner's specifications, either by themselves or by Mrs. Suarez, for those too little to reach everything. You got fruity cereal, chocolate cereal with marshmallows. No. Plain cereal, plain oatmeal, apple oatmeal, tinned peach oatmeal. Nice. Cinnamon oatmeal, maple oatmeal, strawberries and cream oatmeal. Now this is the Michael Rosen thing, but we gotta think this is what Holly would have. What are we doing here? What are we even doing here? Marina, Foster, strawberries and cream. And you added strawberries. Why do they have all this? Why do the people have all this stuff of just available for breakfast? I mean, the oatmeals I could see, because those are all the different packets of infant oatmeal that come in, like, the fruit flavors box, right? They have a couple different kinds of cereal, and then they have... Why do they have all these toppings, all these different kinds of berries? We could add strawberries, but no. She would add some coconut and almond slices, because that sounds amazing. Nicholas tried to grab the bag of almonds away from him whenever he attempted to use them. He giggled the whole time. He didn't even want to eat them. Derek didn't use them, so he had no intention of adding any. It was a game. He ultimately won it, snatching it off the counter when he stopped to take a bite of his meal. Nicholas was a good loser and only smiled with his mouth full at your victorious sprinkling of almonds. He glanced down the hallway, expecting Derek's dad to come join the family soon, but Mrs. Suarez let you know how Mr. Suarez very sneakily went past you a couple hours ago when you were sleeping. Derek swallowed a spoonful of peach oatmeal. Tin peach oatmeal with blueberries. To note how his dad had to commute. Derek's mom nodded before moving the conversation forward. I'll take you home in the evening. The younger ones can stay with Mr. Suarez then. You'll have a peaceful ride. Your mom's known to be a little late. We worked it out yesterday while you were packing. And I'll be out running errands until then. I'll be bringing the kids. You two can enjoy your time however you choose.
Is that fine?
Derek stuck his spoon towards the ceiling and gave a thumbs up from his bar stool. It's peachy. Derek put his other fist on the counter. Double thumbs up. Soon you learned another new thing about Derek's family. His dad commuted very early and all hands were tasked with cleaning up, whether they were guests or not. The five of you made quick work of breakfast. Then Mrs. Suarez, with some more assistance from Derek, corralled Jorge and Nicolas into the minivan to act as helpers during her daily tasks. Jorge could properly fulfill that role, while Nicolas was more of an honorary helper who still needed more support than he gave. The title was still exciting for him to release Derek for 1 minute so he could be strapped into his car seat for the drive. From one job to another, you and Derek were left. Saikai is playing Streets of Rage 4. Ha! Revenge is mine! Anyway, from one job to another, you and Derek were left alone to put the living room back into its proper order. First, your belongings were collected and set aside to make sure nothing got mixed in with the other supplies. The blankets were stuffed back into Derek's room in the spare closet, and any loose marshmallows that were discovered to have escaped being devoured and ended up on the floor were thrown into the trash. Your campsite became a hollow shell of what it once was. It had ended so quickly, but a short adventure in the great outdoors of that Suarez living room was better than none. It was still a minor miracle that you got to come. You didn't forget that. And we're going to leave off there for the moment. There's a whole nother adventure to be had here in this moment with Derek. But we'll see you next time for that exciting conclusion of this